Susie King Taylor was born into a family of slaves on August 6, 1848, in Liberty County, Georgia, which is just 35 miles south of Savannah. When she was just a young girl, Susie knew the importance of learning to read and write and would let nobody get in her way of learning. When she was about 7 years old, she traveled to Savannah to live with her grandmother, Dolly Reed. Every morning, she and her brother would leave their grandmother's house, their books wrapped up in paper, and travel to a nearby schoolhouse. It was a very dangerous journey for them, as there were harsh laws against the formal education of African Americans. However, they were willing to take that risk for the sake of education. In 1862, the Union Army captured Fort Pulaski and took control of the Georgia coast. Susie, just 14 at the time, joined other slaves who were being sent via military boats to Union camps off the Georgia coast. It was at this time that her education came into play. While on the boat, she spoke with the captain, who was impressed with her reading and writing skills. He asked her to teach the illiterate children and adults at a school on the island they were headed to, called St. Simon's Island. Susie gladly accepted the position and immediately got to work teaching countless adults and children how to read and write, becoming the first black teacher for freed African Americans in a freedmen's school in Georgia. Stationed at the very same camp on St. Simon's Island was Sergeant Edward King, a young man who stole Susie's heart. Soon after, he and his unit were transferred to Port Royal Island, South Carolina. Susie decided to go with him, where she was technically employed as a laundress, but did so much more to help. She spent a lot of her time teaching the troops and acting as a postmistress to them, reading their letters out loud and assisting them in writing back their replies. Susie even learned how to handle, inspect, and clean guns, and enjoyed doing this daily. What Susie is most known for is serving as a skilled nurse for the U.S. Army. She helped countless soldiers in any way that she could, even though she was not paid for her services. She enjoyed giving of herself, and the appreciation from soldiers was payment enough for her. During her time as a nurse, she would often travel to Beaumont, South Carolina, to visit the 1st Regimental Hospital for black soldiers. It was there that she met and worked with Clara Barton, who later founded the Red Cross. Clara worked as a nurse until 1865, when the war ended. After her service to the Army, she opened a school in Savannah and later at her home in Liberty County. To continue her job of nursing, which she loved dearly, she joined and later became president of the Women's Relief Corps. In the early 1900s, she published her autobiography, Reminiscence of My Life in Camp, a Black Woman's Civil War Memoirs. She became the first and only African American woman to publish a memoir of her experiences during the war. 10 years before her death, Susie received a letter from Colonel Charles T. Trowbridge stating that she would not be paid for her services as a nurse, although her efforts and talents were much appreciated. Susie King Taylor died in 1912 and was buried in Mount Hope Cemetery in Roslindale, Massachusetts. The 5th grade standard we chose for this lesson is, the history of the United States has been impacted by significant individuals, groups, and advances in technology. For our classroom activity, before our students watch this video, we will provide them with the concept web that they will use to organize what they learn about Susie King Taylor. This will help students realize how Susie King Taylor's contributions impacted the history of the United States. Here's an example of a completed concept web on the life of Susie King Taylor.